It looks like we're good. So we'll be touching on the divisions we're going to touch on are going to cover NCAA, NJCAA, which is junior college, and then the NAIA. Obviously, in the college divisions, we have the three divisions of NCAA, we have NAIA, the junior college setup, which also has three divisions: Division One, Two, and Three. There are some other college divisions like the California Junior College Association and the NCCAA, which is a Christian college association. I'm not going to get into in depth in California and the Christian college because typically all the colleges that we are going to see in the Midwest fall into one of the NCAA, NAIA, or one of the JUCO colleges. So NCAA. On the men's side of the NCAA, currently now this information was updated as of early fall 23, so there might be a number or two off. But currently in Division One, there is 205 soccer schools. The maximum scholarships offered per school is 9.9. Average roster size in Division One and 29. So if we're looking at some local schools that have Division One soccer, we've got UNO, Creighton, Drake, Missouri State, University of Missouri KC. For Division Two, 214 schools, 9 scholarships. Average roster size is 31. Some of the schools in our area: Drury University, Fort Hays State, Lindenwood, Newman, Rockhurst, and Upper Iowa. Division Three, there's 415 soccer schools. No athletic scholarships are offered for NCAA D3. The average roster size is 29 players. Some of the local schools there: Buena Vista, Central Iowa, Coe College, Cornell, Grinnell, Loras, Manhattan Christian, Wesleyan and Lincoln, and Simpson. On the women's side, 333 in Division One. Max scholarship is 14. Average roster size 28. Quite a few lists of local schools there that we have that are Division One. Division Two, 265. Max scholarship is 99. Average roster size 27. Another pretty good list of local schools that we have there on the women's side. Division Three, 441 soccer schools. Again, Division Three, no athletic scholarships. Average roster is 25. Similar list to the men's side as far as the local schools. And I'm going to touch on some of the NAI numbers. There is 188 soccer schools on the men's side. They can offer a maximum of 12 scholarships. Average roster is 30. Some of the local schools: NAIA, Avila, Baker, Bellevue, Benedictine, Bethany, Briarcliff, Concordia in Nebraska, and then the other Wesleyans in Iowa, Kansas, and Oklahoma. One thing I do want to touch on before we get too far is all these scholarship counts are the maximum that they can offer. That doesn't mean that particular school actually carries that many scholarships. I think a really good example would be for a lot of the D2s might on the women's side offer 5 to 6, even though 9 is the maximum. That maximum number for NCAA is only if you're fully funded. So if they're not fully funded, and that's an accounting thing based on budgetary things and of that nature, they may not have the full allotment of scholarships. On the women's side, 188 soccer schools for NAIA. Again, max scholarship of 12, average roster size of 25. Keep in mind with the average roster sizes for NAIA, I'm only including the top team. There is many NAIA schools that also have JV programs, so they may carry more in the neighborhood of 40 to 50 kids. Now for a look at junior colleges. On the differences in the divisions for junior college for men, Division One programs, when we talk about their scholarships, they can cover all the costs, so that includes room and board. NJCAA Division Two, you can only cover tuition and fees. There's no room and board that can be covered. And then Division Three offers no athletic scholarship. For the men's side, we have 75 soccer schools, 18 max. Division Two, 96. Again, 18 max. And then Division Three, 68. For us here locally, in the Division One on the men's side, we have like Iowa Western, Barton, Coffeyville, Cowley, Community College, Dodge City, Iowa Lakes. On the Division Two side, some of those schools close to us are going to be Allen, Southeast, Community College, Central here in Nebraska, Heston, Pratt, Northeast, and North Iowa. We really don't have any D3s locally. The closest junior colleges to us that are Division III are going to be like in Wisconsin and Minnesota. On the women's side, we've got 83 soccer schools in D1, 82 in D2. Again, 18 max per school. Average roster sizes are a little bit bigger in junior college, just like on the men's side. For Division One, average is 30. On Division Two, average is 22. Local schools here for Division One, junior college, Iowa Western, Laramie County, Indian Hills, Iowa Lakes, similar to the men's side. For Division Two, Central Community College, Southeast Community College, Hawkeye, and Northeast. And then I asked this question just to because soccer, for those of you who know about like football and basketball, those are number sports. So those are straight up number scholarships. Soccer's a little bit different. Scholarships can be split up. They can be, and again, with the fully funded issue, what are the odds of getting into school? If we're looking at the numbers, on the boys' side, there's over 459,000 high school soccer players. There is 25,000 NCAA participants as of 2023. So if we're looking at a straight percentage from high school to college for NCAA, it's 5.6%. If we add in the roster spots for NAIA and junior college, that number does climb to 7.7. On the women's side, obviously more schools have women's soccer than men's soccer, and the numbers of high school participants are a little bit lower. So when we look at the numbers there, we're looking at about 7.2% from high school to college. When we're looking at NCAA, when we add in the NAIA and junior college ranks, we're almost to 10% at 9.2%. So I don't put these numbers out there to scare you, to say you have a 1 in 10 chance of making college. There's a lot of things that go into this process, and I'll talk a little bit about those here in a minute. But I want these kind of things to be at the forefront to say, hey, if this is something I really want to do, I got to put some work in both on the soccer field on my own, and then also how I market myself using the tools available for college recruiting to find myself a roster spot. Odds of getting a full ride, typically going to be 0%, both men's and women. If you do the math and look at the average roster size compared to the number of scholarships available, colleges and coaches split scholarship to fill their rosters, right? Obviously, if we got 11 players on the field and there's only 9.9 max for D1 men's, you're not going to want to give out a full ride to anybody, because you got to build a talented roster in order to be competitive. So you got to spread that money out. So we'll just talk a little bit about the recruiting process. Number one is assessing ability. Now, we have to have an honest assessment of where we're at and where we can possibly develop. So that's going to be the evaluations you get from your club, your high school, ID camps, and ODP to get a really good understanding of where you're at talent wise right now. Obviously, if the where your evaluations are at and you're a junior or senior, you have less development time to make improvements before you get to college. But obviously, if we're a ninth grader, we have a little bit of time to put some work in and improve where we're at. Number two, identify appropriate colleges. Research, research, research. Me personally, and I will hope for you feel the same way, the right fit is extremely important. So we need to make sure, number one, the colleges we're looking at have the top 3 to 10 majors we're looking at. Does the cost fit your family's budget? Is the location make sense? Do I want to be able to drive home on the weekend and have mom and dad help me with my laundry? Or do I want to make sure they just can't drop in at the drop of a hat and I want to get far away? What is the roster size? What is the makeup of the roster? If I'm a goalkeeper and I'm looking at a school that has 4 sophomore goalkeepers on the roster, I might want to look at that and say, am I comfortable being on the bench for a couple of years? Or am I comfortable fighting for my spot on the field? Or looking at a roster and you see that this particular coach recruits a lot of international players and only has 4 or 5 Americans on the roster. Is that something you're comfortable with? So not just roster size, but the actual makeup of that roster. Does it fit your position and what you're looking for? Number 3, communicating and getting noticed. Have an online presence. Attend ID camps and showcase events. Have direct communication. Just because certain rules prevent coaches from talking to you, in order to get on their radar, you have to go to their website, fill out recruit questionnaire forms, send emails to head coaches, assistant coaches. Some of the schools even have recruiting coordinators. Phone, email, text. Each college coach is going to have a communication tool that they're typically attached to, whether that's texting, email, or phone calls. You've got to find the way they like to communicate and respond and communicate with them in that medium. Own your recruitment. Your kiddo and you as parents will care the most about where they're going to go and what they're going to do, so take ownership of it. If you put the effort in, you will be able to find a school that's a good fit for you, that's going to get the education that you need to be successful later on in life, but also allow you to enjoy your soccer during that time. Number 4, be eligible. Grades, grades, grades. I can tell you right now, you're going to get way more money for having a high GPA than you will potentially for the fact that you play soccer. Get good scores on the ACT and SAT, and then complete the required NCAA or NAIA eligibility center. NCAA eligibility centers for D2 and up. If you're a D3, looking at D3s, you don't need to worry about that. Obviously, NAIA school, you got to complete that out, but you don't have to worry about that until your junior year. Some of the points of failure I've seen over my 6 years of recruiting college players. Number 1, the player did not engage in the process proactively and consistently. Especially the parents might have been more interested in the college recruiting process, or the player just sat back and was waiting for colleges to contact them. Do not be lazy about this. Communicate, do research, send emails, go to camps, make phone calls, send text messages. Do all the things that you can to get your name out there, market yourself essentially. Number 2, the right college or coach did not see them. They didn't get to enough showcase events. They didn't do any ID camps. They, basically just played in their home environment and didn't put themselves out there. If you have an opportunity, if your team's not going to a college showcase and you guys have have an extra weekend, pick up a guest play opportunity. Number 3, they did not assess their academic and athletic ability appropriately and honestly. For example, only looking at D1 schools, like the D1 or bus mentality. If I can, help you with anything, The mentality we should have is finding the right fit, right? Right fit for academics, athletics, and culture. And I've seen that go both ways. I have some players that have undervalued themselves and don't put themselves out there to maybe a school they don't think they're good enough for. And then also obviously overconfident, feeling that they are for sure a Power 5 player when maybe that's not the right fit for them. Number 4, stopping communication with other schools after they have their first offer. As we know, for those NCAA levels, we're not signing anything until signing day later on in the high school career, and they may be getting offers in their junior year. Well, things happen, coaches change, other players accept offers that maybe turned them down earlier. Just because you have a verbal offer doesn't mean that roster spot's guaranteed for you. So continue your recruitment process all the way through signing day. So now we'll just talk a little bit about the calendar and timeline for, we're starting with 9th grade, obviously, so looking at high school. So freshmen, your first day of class, or even before, you're what's considered a prospective student athlete. So when you're reading rules and things like that, you might see prospective student athlete abbreviated as PSA. So if you see PSA, it just means prospective student athlete. Obviously, we want to make sure we create a resume. So that's what we're doing for the Real Cup is we're gonna create these player profiles where it's gonna ask some of those questions. What's your GPA? What are you looking for to major in? What year do you graduate? Height, weight, some of your kind of player resume, some of the events you've done, teams you've played with, et cetera, et cetera. Start to research schools. As a freshman, I would suggest having that list be pretty big. Have 25 schools on your list that have the majors you're looking for, the level you're looking for, some of those types of things. And to help get this list down to 25, we want to start narrowing our majors down to maybe our top 8 to 10. Obviously, that might be a tough thing to figure out when you're a freshman, but you probably have an idea of the things that you like in school or you like to do, whether that's math, science, the arts, things like that. Definitely want to begin collecting video of games and training. Attend college ID camps and showcase events. For NCAA D1 and D2, you can reach out to coaches, but they cannot respond. NCAA D3, NAIA, NJCAA, coaches can start to talk to you, so communication can go both ways. As a sophomore in 10th grade year, we want to start narrowing that target list of schools down to 10 to 15 and get that major list down to 4 to 6 things that you're looking at studying in college. This is when we want to make sure we're definitely emailing and calling, making calls to target schools, not just talking to coaches, but talking to entrance folks at the school, getting information, calendars, when applications are due, things of that nature. September 1st of your sophomore year, D1 and D2, you'll want to register with the Eligibility Center. So that's if you're targeting a D1 or D2 NCAA school. NCAA D3, after the last day of school your sophomore year, coaches can talk to you off campus. So that means for 10th graders that are going to Real Cup, if NCAA D3 school is there, they can talk to you at the event. Because we'll be done, hopefully you'll be done with school by Memorial Day weekend. NCAA D1 and D2, again, still reach out to those coaches. They just can't respond directly yet. The only thing they can respond with is general information about the school, maybe their camps and things of that nature, but they can't talk specifically about the school to you or details, anything beyond general information. Juniors, so during your 11th grade year, June 15th of your junior year. So this is probably the start of your year. So we're looking at, the summer before your junior year. NCAA D1 and D2 coaches can call a prospective student athlete and extend verbal offers. June 15th for D2, you can have official visits. That means visits where they pay for you to go visit the school. Obviously, unofficials do not count in this. August 1st of your junior year, that is when D1 and D2 official visits can commence and coaches can talk to you off campus. So if they're holding an event or you are at an event off of campus, they can talk to you. The caveat I will say there is at showcase events, a D1 or D2 coach cannot talk to you until after the event is over. So if it has not been your last game of the event, they won't be able to talk to you. So typically what coaches in these levels do to be safe is they'll just email you after the event. They won't actually even come up to you, just to avoid any rules violations. January 1st of your junior year, NCAA D3, you can start having official visits. For NAIA prospective students, the junior year is going to be when you want to register with the Eligibility Center for NAIA. This year, we really want to narrow our list of target schools down to 3 or 5. Get your major choices down to 2 or 3. And typically what I suggest when we're talking about majors in your target school now in your junior year, we want to make sure all of those schools we're looking at have all 3 of the majors we're interested in. And then we want to visit at least 5 schools. You can take up to 5 visits for an NCAA school. Obviously, there's no limit for visits on NAIA or NJCAA schools. For 12th graders, your senior year, time to make a choice. Obviously, we want to make sure it's got at least 2 of our majors. So as typically happens in college, we get into something, we may not like it, we need to have an option to change. That will allow you to change majors within the school without having to transfer. November 1st, your senior year, NJCAA schools, you can sign your letter of intent. November 9th, obviously, these dates do tend to fluctuate every year, but this is what the dates were previously when I put this together. So don't hold me to these exact dates. They announce them every year. NCAA D1 and D2, you can sign your NLI or your National Letter of Intent. The end of your senior year is when you got to enter all your transcripts and complete your amateurism questionnaire within the Eligibility Center for the NCAA. So that's kind of just a general outline of timeline and some ideas of how to keep you on track to make sure you're ready to participate in college sports, specifically for soccer. So for academic eligibility, I'm going to talk through a little bit of the different levels and what you have to be. This is the bare minimum. Okay, keep in mind, these are the minimums. These aren't necessarily what coaches are looking for. I will caution you and say typically college coaches are looking for high-performing students so they don't have to worry about them in the classroom when they bring them into college. In the NJCAA, to be academically eligible, you just have to be a high school graduate. Certain schools may have other GPA requirements or things like that, but to be academically eligible for junior college, you just have to graduate high school. For NAIA, you have to be a high school graduate and also meet 2 of the following 3 requirements in the list of 1, 2, and 3. You need a test score on your ACT or an ACT of at least an 18 or SAT of 860. Depending on the school, they may look at one, other, or both. And you need a minimum GPA of 2.0. The third option would be if you're in the top 50% of your graduating class. So, for example, if you have like a 1.9 GPA, but you graduated in the top 50% and your ACT was a 19, you're good to go. Keep in mind, that is minimum. That may not get you recruited, but that would get you eligible. Switching gears over to NCAA. For NCAA Division I, you have to be a high school graduate. You have to have at least a 2.3 GPA in these specific core courses. I have a link on there if you want to look at what those core courses are. But core courses, we're talking about math, science, reading, and writing. So there are those base school courses. 16 of those core courses need to be completed before the senior year. Test scores have to be sent directly to the NCAA for the SAT and ACT using school code 9999. There is a sliding scale for test score requirement based on the core course GPA. So there's a huge spreadsheet on this on the NCAA eligibility website. But for an example, if you have a 3.0 GPA on your core class schedule and you have it, then the minimum score on your SAT has to be a 720. So basically, the higher your GPA is, the lower score you have to get on your SAT. The lower your GPA is, the higher score you got to get on your SAT or ACT. Now, the thing your high school should help you with the NCAA requirements is they should be asking during your freshman, sophomore year at some point if you're looking at playing sports in college, and then your high school counselor should be helping you with determining to make sure you're taking the right core classes to get them done, to get those 10 of 16 core courses completed before your senior year. So your senior year, you're not having to do a whole bunch. And also meeting the requirements for the NCAA. For Division II, you have to be a high school graduate, at least a 2.2 GPA in the core courses. Again, 16 core courses in high school. Sending test scores directly to the NCAA. Again, sliding scale, but the sliding scale is slightly different. For example, a 3.0 GPA only requires a 580 on the SAT. So here is some tips for the recruiting process. Again, own the process. You are going to be the one that makes this happen. Do not hesitate to call, email, text coaches. Again, be marketing yourself. You got to think if you aren't doing something, another player is. Be proactive. 99% of college coaches will not talk to your parents. Most of them won't talk to your club or high school coaches during initial recruiting. If a college coach is reaching out or asking you who your club or high school coach is, that means they're already interested in you and they're checking in on your character. Do your own research. What is the roster makeup? What has their record been over the last 5 years? How long has the coaching staff been there? What non-soccer related activities can you do on campus? Use the research to generate questions of the coaches. Have questions written down before you talk to them. Coaches want to know you're truly interested in the school, and if you have questions to ask about the school, about the team, that shows them you really do care and you are interested. Know your story. Do your goals, values, history match up with the school and program? Be ready to share your story with those coaches and players at that school. Coaches want to know you. They need to know what type of person they are adding to their roster. Culture matters to a lot of coaches. Talk to the current players. They are going to be your family on campus. If you're moving 5 or 6 hours away from home to play soccer and go to school, those are the people you're going to be spending 80 to 90% of your time with. What are they saying about the team and program? What are they not saying? Do you want to spend 40 hours a week with them for 4 years? Get to know the coaches. Are you comfortable spending 4 years with them? Grades, grades, grades. Classroom excellence is the biggest separator of on-the-field talent. If a coach is looking at a winger and he's looking at, even on the same team, you might have a teammate that's just as good a winger as you are, and if he's saying, gosh, I really like both these guys, but I only have one spot for a winger, who am I going to give the offer to? And one of them has a 3.9 GPA and the other one has a 3.0, who do you think's getting the offer? Easiest way to get recruited so for the grades, it's the easiest way to get recruited is because you will be a good candidate for all divisions of college soccer if you have a high GPA and high test scores. Ask big questions of yourself. Why do I play the game? Who do I play for? What do I want my college experience to look like? Understanding how you think and feel about the game will be very important in you being able to find a college that you really want to be a part of. Use the online tools that are out there. Locate residential ID camps, showcases, or non-residential ID camps. Use the recruiting softwares out there. I'll talk a little bit more about the players when we do our communication with college coaches meeting. But there's a whole bunch of software out there. A lot of them allow you to make free profiles, get highlighted NCSA, field level, College Fit Finder, Total Global Sports, Scout Zone that we're going to use for this tournament. And the list goes on and on. Build your roster of promoters. What I mean by that is people who will sell you to prospective colleges. What does your club coach think of you? If the college coach called your club coach, what would your club coach say about you? If your college coach called me, what would I say about you? High school counselors, right? So the people that are helping you pick your classes and helping guide you through the high school process, get to know them, make sure they know what type of quality individual you are. And then obviously teachers. Not all college coaches are going to reach out to teachers, but it's a small community. If they call somebody and they have a passing conversation and that teacher says, oh, they're a great kid, they'd be great to have on campus, they'll be a great member of your team. You want people that are going to say positive things about you. Just some thoughts to think about how maybe I make the decision of what colleges are on my target list or where I want to go. What is the quality of institution for your major? Is the college ranked? U.S. News and World Report puts out reports every year for every school and where that major ranks nationally and regionally. For your second choice major, does the college still fit? What is the employment status of graduates? So if you're looking at, say, Wesleyan and Lincoln, what percentage of graduates of the business colleges are employed right after school? Geographics. How far do you feel comfortable being away from home? Family support, the size of the town the college is in. For example, for me, I didn't want to go to a giant town. Like I went to a college that was in a really small town. That made sense for me. Do you want a big city or small town? What's the weather like? Do you mind if you go to Minnesota? Do you mind playing in the cold all the time? Social. What is the learning community like? What are the extracurricular activities? What is the game day experience like? What is the overall college experience I want? And then obviously, money. What is the total cost of attendance? What is the budget you and your family can afford? If you're only getting a 25% scholarship, how are you going to pay for the other 75%? And then obviously we'll be building this out later. So as we get kids, since I've taken over the program recruited, I want to keep a map of where everybody goes. So when we fill out those profiles and we get recruited, we're going to kind of keep track of that to, see where our kids get to go.